This is part of growing up. A little rebellion, a little adventure, that's good, healthy even.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel if this is your first time. If it is your first time and you're interested in similar things to me, please have a look around and subscribe to the channel if you are interested. So this is a special video about Harry Harrison. He's an American science fiction writer. He's really, really important, but it's funny because he doesn't really get talked about that often. And I think it's because of the nature of what he writes, which I'll get to in a minute. But he was born in March 1925 and he died in August 2012. So he lived a very long life and he had a huge influence, I think, on science fiction. And there are certain things he's most famous for, so I'll get to them in a minute, but he's most famous for the Stainless Steel Rat series and Make Room, which is a really important dystopian novel that became the film Soylent Green, which is part of the reason why it's so famous, because of the film, but it is a very important landmark dystopian book as well. He was an American science fiction writer who started off as an illustrator for weird fantasy and weird science, two comics from the EC Comics publishing company. And that's how he started as an illustrator. I think it's really interesting. And then he also, besides all the writing he did as an author, he was also an important editor as well. So he did a lot of editing of anthologies with Brian Aldiss. So he worked a lot with Brian Aldiss. And he also wrote a lot of SF criticism as well. So he's a really important figure in science fiction in general. But he wrote some really great novels, and I've got tons of his stuff, so I wanted to talk about some of the books I've got. There's actually two I can't find. There's three I can't find, actually. There's three I can't find, which is a bit annoying because I know I've got them, but I'll get to those in a minute. A couple of other things before we get to the books. He was also, during the 50s and 60s, he was the main writer for the Flash Gordon newspaper strip as well, which I think is really cool. So yeah, that's another thing that he can sort of rack up to his bibliography. And also in 2004, he was inducted into the Science Fiction Hall of Fame. So he didn't get any specific awards really for his, as far as I know, for his novels, but he did get rewarded for his general contribution to science fiction as being inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2004. Let's talk about Stainless Steel Rat first. So these are my Stainless Steel Rat books. Actually, it's not all of them because there's two missing. So somewhere in the house I have two others. But let's just talk about this one first. This is such an important book to me. This, I've mentioned it a few times on the channel, but I've never really done a video about Harry Harrison, so which is why I wanted to do this really. This was such an important part of me wanting to read. So I read this when I was little and I just got into it massively. And the tone of his writing in Stainless Steel Rat books is, I think, the big influence. There's a light touch. It's humorous, but it's also intelligent. There's a kind of a serious, kind of satirical nature to it, but it's ultimately quite light and fluffy. But it's clearly reveling in the science fiction setting. And there's loads of authors that have been influenced by that. I think Douglas Adams is influenced by him. I think Terry Pratchett is influenced by him as well. But there's other people like Robert Asprin's Fool series, and John Scalzi's Red Shirts, I think, comes out of that. I think John Scalzi is a very similar author, actually. So John Scalzi writes very popular books with a light touch, but they're intelligently written, I think. So I think you can compare the two, I think, and both don't get recognised for the writing as much as just being popular. Yeah, so John Scalzi's influence as well. What's his name? Oh, there's tons. Anyone that does science fiction that's slightly comedic or slightly light, I think, can be, you can say that they're influenced by Harry Harrison. So yeah, Stainless Steel Rat is the first book. It's a very short book if you're curious. It's interesting actually because this does have a lot of sentimental value as well as just the fact I like it. I read it again a little while ago, a few years ago. But when Moyd from Media Devcot read it, I was thinking, oh God, is this going to be a really dated book? And it will like slag off, but he actually enjoyed it, which is really good. So shout out to Moyd, by the way. So yeah, Stainless Steel Rat. And there's 2 copies here of the second book, Surrats Revenge. This is when he meets his wife, Angelina. So, you know, again, there's like an ongoing part of the series. That's Surrats Saves the World, where he goes back in time. And this is another copy of it, actually. It's a different edition. I think I just found it and got excited. If I see any, that's why I've got some doubles, because if I see any copies of the Surrats books, just get them. This is Surrats Wants You, which was my favourite one when I initially read them. So I might read them again and see how I feel. And then this was the one that I've mentioned recently on a video, because I read it in one day and I'll never forget it, because I was absolutely gripped and I loved it. So Surrats for President, and there's a more knackered copy. This might have been the original copy I had, I'm not sure. Yeah. And then there's Surrats Gets Drafted, which he wrote afterwards. Surrats joins the circus, which was the last one I read, I think, a few years back. Surrats Sings the Blues was that one. And before I mention this one, there are 2 others which I'll put up on here. There's Surrats Is Born, which I've definitely got somewhere, and Surrats Goes to Hell, which I really enjoyed. So there's that one as well. But this was a short story collection which featured the last story he wrote for the Surrats. The last Jim DeGreer story was in Surrats Vision. So this is just a general collection of his stuff. And if I have a look, I've got a feeling, yeah, Streets of Ash Kellen's in there, Portrait the Artist, Repairman. These are stories that have appeared in other things. And on that note, the other book that I couldn't find, but I know I've got it because it's one of my, again, landmark books that got me reading a lot originally, was 2008 Tomorrows, which is a short story collection which features Streets of Ash Kellen, which is like a fantastic book. Sorry, but fantastic story. So, yeah, 2008 Tomorrows is also another one which I've got somewhere. So those are the Surrats books. What I'd love to have, which I haven't got yet, is the graphic novel that was made of the Surrats, because it ended up being a serial in comic form. I think it was 2000 AD that published the comic version of Surrats. But correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I think it was 2000 AD. So those are the Surrats books. So as I said, he was very prolific and important as an editor. So I've got some of his books. I've got some of the other editing stuff he's done with Brian Aldiss as well somewhere. So yeah, it's very easy to find vintage stuff that he's edited with Brian Aldiss. And then this is kind of similar to 2008 Tomorrows, but it's got some extra stories in it as well. So The Best of Harry Harrison is a really good book. So it's short stories. So these were all featured in magazines at the time. And then you've got these ones here, which I'll go over. Technicolor Time Machine, which I read recently when I was rereading some time travel stuff, and I talked about it on one of my time travel videos. It's a lot of fun. It's good. It's good novel. Again, quite light-hearted. In Our Hands, the Stars, which is another good one. Prime Number, which I don't actually remember. I know I've read it, but I can't remember how good it is or whatever, but I'll have to reread that. So it's Prime Number. The Star Smashers of the Galaxy Rangers. I want the other cover of this, because I used to have a different version of this. I want to get the other cover. But in the meantime, because I knew that I'd lost that first version, I bought this version. So when I found it, so Star Smashers of the Galaxy Rangers, brilliant title. It's a really good book. It's one of his classics. Rebel in Time, it's another time travel book that he wrote. Rebel in Time is really good, but I'm due for a reread on that one. The War with the Robots. So, you know, this is kind of pulpy stuff that he wrote. Planet of No Return. I love that cover. So Planet of No Return. These Sphere ones, Sphere SF, were a big thing for me. I don't know what it was, but there's something about them that it might have been just the fact that they were bringing out a lot in Britain when I was getting into reading. It could be that. But Planet of No Return is a good one. And then Invasion Earth. And I remember actually drawing that cover. So I used to do that. I remember drawing the cover of Elfstones of Shannara and a few other things when I was getting into drawing. And I drew that cover. I remember that. I really like it. It's cool. So Invasion Earth, Harry Harrison. So those are some of the books I've got by him. But then there's some other things that are really famous. So Make Room, Make Room. I like this penguin version that came out a little while ago, but I've also got a really cool vintage version as well, which has just got a bizarre cover on it. So Make Room is his famous dystopian novel about overpopulation, which, as I said earlier, became the film Soylent Green. But Make Room is a really, really important book. So that's one of his big ones. So if you're curious, but you don't really feel like you're going to like kind of humorous SF or light SF, then Make Room might be more your style. And these are two of the Wheel World, Home World. What's the other one? What's the other one in the series? Does it say? Is it going to tell me? Well, this is called the To the Stars trilogy, and these are two of them. So I haven't got the third one. So it's Home World and Wheel World. Just never got around to getting the third one, but I read the first one a little while ago. It was when we did the first New Worlds November, or when I was first involved in New Worlds November, and that was really cool. So Home World and Wheel World are really good. Bill the Galactic Hero. This is a character he created to basically mock Heinlein's Starship Troopers. It's kind of like a parody of Starship Troopers. So yeah. And yeah, it might be worth you having a look at that if you're curious. These are really famous. So these are the 3 Death World books. I really love the covers of these. So as Death World 1, again, I drew that as well when I was getting used to drawing. So Death World 1 and Death World 2 and Death World 3. Quite short, quite light novels, but they've got a real charm about them. I really like them, and they're kind of adventure stories with a cool kind of planet that he's kind of built. And then just to finish off, you've got the West of Eden books. So shout out to 2 people actually. So West of Eden, this hardback book is, I used to have a paperback book of this, but I don't know where it went. But this hardback book was given to me by Sean D. Standfast when I went to his house to help him pack. And he said I could have this, so it's very generous of him. So West of Eden, this is a really famous and very acclaimed book about a series of books where he riffs on the idea that the dinosaurs didn't die out and they evolved into beings with their own language and a sophisticated society. So that's what West of Eden's about. And then Sean also gave me Winter in Eden on hardback as well, which I did actually have on paperback, but I couldn't resist it. So I've got the book 2 as well in hardback. And shout out to Brandy as well from Booklectic, because I know that she says that the West of Eden series is some of her favourite books, and she absolutely loves them. I mean, she loves dinosaurs, but she loves how he's written it, and she says it's really complex and really interesting, and clearly quite different to his pulpy stuff, which, you know, it probably takes that much, a lot of his career. So there we go. So I haven't read the Eden books yet, so I need to read those, but I'm going to read those definitely before the end of the year. But as you can see, I'm a big fan. I've got loads of his stuff, and he's a very important novelist for me, very important writer for me, because he's one of the key people that got me into reading. So let me know if you like Harry Harrison, if you know his stuff, if you like the Stained Surrat, or if you like the Eden series, or if you like the Death World series, or if you like Make Room, or you've just enjoyed him as an editor, because that's also been obviously a big part of his career. Thanks a lot for watching. Stay curious, everybody.
picture of what it's like to be